Pat Kelsey from Louisville. He is here. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
If you have a question for Pat, just use the raise hand tool. If you're just joining us, need access to record, let me know that in the chat window. Russ, you're up first, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, Pat, I hope I haven't overlooked the recent update, but what's the situation for Waterman in the SMU game?
Yeah, we're not sure yet. It'll probably be a game time decision. As I mentioned the other day at the press conference, he's obviously dealing with a significant injury, and it's just been giving him more and more problems. So we're trying our best, through treatment and for rest to have it settle down a little bit. And, hopefully he can play as soon as possible. We'll know more as we get closer to the game tomorrow.
How has that affected your rotation and so forth?
Well, it obviously takes a main contributor out, as you saw the other day, and forces other guys obviously to step up and compensate. And it'll be great when we get him back. Hopefully it'll be tomorrow, just because he adds so much in many different dimensions of our offense and defense.
Thanks.
CL Brown, go ahead, sir.
Pat, you've had some great offensive rebounding teams. Looking back at Charleston and Winthrop during your time there, how do you kind of cultivate that in a team that may not have that volume rebounder like on this roster? There's no one person that sticks out like this is going to be the guy that's going to be the big rebounder. How do you kind of foster that?
I think if you go back and you look at those teams and look at that history, we've never had that. It's always rebound by committee. We stress pursuit of the ball and toughness, grit, tenacity, which is so much of what rebounding is. And I don't think this team's any different.
Were you at all concerned when Pryor went out and Traore at the time, that rebounding was going to become a problem for this team?
Well, those are two really good players and really good rebounders. So when you take two guys that's one of their strengths off the table, obviously it's a concern. I think we've been able to answer that question and have continued to be a good rebounding team.
Thank you.
Go next to Matt McGavich.
Pat, obviously you've mentioned on a handful of occasions that you don't really pay attention to the rankings, but when the AP poll does come out later today, there's a solid chance you guys will be on it. What does that speak about what you, your staff, and the players have done in such a short amount of time, given the situation that you walked into?
I don't really think about those things. As I mentioned, things like that, whether it's a winning streak or being ranked, are good for a lot of things, our brand, our fan base, recruiting, all those things. So I'm very, very well aware and appreciate what comes with some success that you had. But winning streak, whatever it is, how many games, that's all in the past. Your ranking is about what you've done up to this point, not what you're doing moving forward. And all we focus on and stress is the current thing, which is practice today, or our weightlifting session here in 17 minutes. And then our film session, our practice, our walkthrough, our travel there. And that's really all I'm thinking about.
Kip Coombs, go ahead, sir.
Hey, good morning, Pat. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, on Saturday's game, the announcers made a big deal of mentioning that you only had 2 points back from last year. And it had to be just an immense job for you just to go about putting together a roster, considering the exodus from your last team. What was your plan going forward? How did you go about that? Because do you just look at your staff and say, hey, we got to recruit a whole team? Where do you go about even deciding where to start?
When you said return 2 points back from last year, are you saying 2 points scored or averaging 2 points a game? Because we had zero contributors return. Aiden McCool's one of our walk-ons. He was the only player that came back, but I didn't even know if he scored in the game last year. He's a very valuable member of our team. He's great in the locker room, does a great job with scouts, but he's never played and never will play significant minutes. So just to clarify, we started completely from scratch, and When you describe it that way, it seems like a big undertaking, which it is. But we, focused on that challenge, just like we focus on our challenges throughout the course of the year. You can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. So, we worked our butt off. We're extremely diligent. We stayed committed to our standards in recruiting, both on the floor, basketball wise in our system, but on the floor as well in terms of immeasurable type things, intangibles. And, we were very thorough and methodical and worked very hard over the course of several months. It was a time when we were all at a new spot, moving to a new city. Our families hadn't moved yet. So, it was basically, nonstop around the clock work to put a really good roster together. I give my staff a ton of credit. People talk about how well we're playing and our winning streak. There is absolutely positively not enough talk about the job that my staff has done, both in a roster building standpoint and recruiting these players, cultivating relationships with them and building buy-in, belief in the cell of our culture every single day, and then coaching these guys, preparing for games, scouting reports. I get on the conference calls. I get so much of the attention or notoriety, whatever it is, praise. But I absolutely could not do it without the hard work of my staff. And I just want to make sure I say that.
For what it's worth, they did say 2 points total. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go next to David Teal.
Pat, the metrics would indicate you have played, according to the net, 8 quad one games, which is more than any team in the league. Do you feel like your team is really, even though it's just late January, battle tested and prepared for the rigors ahead, just given the schedule that you have played to date?
Looking back on it, I think the rigorous schedule, the difficult schedule that we played, you look through it, the lens that I have right now. Yes, I would say it was helpful. I don't know where it ranks on all of the different things that go into creating a winning team and being a team that has the opportunity to compete for a championship. But I think it was helpful to have some of those tough games and challenges early on, found out a lot about ourselves. And I think it helped us in a lot of ways. When you're going through it, it's really tough. When you're planning it or your schedule comes out, you're looking at that gauntlet. Obviously, it can be daunting, but I think our guys have persevered through a difficult schedule and then some injuries and things like that. And it's made us better and tougher, I think, where we are right now and hopefully moving forward. We obviously, nobody's asked me about our game tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, SMU is a very, very, very dangerous and talented team. I think as dangerous, as talented as any in our entire conference. Andy's done a phenomenal job. You ask me about building our team. I think what he's done in building that team into a title contender in a very, very short amount of time is more impressive in my mind. So you got to be on it. They're extremely balanced. It's not like you can circle, similar, I think, to us in a lot of ways. You can't really circle 1, 2, even 3 guys on the scouting report and say, man, that's the guy we have to stop. They have a ton of weapons. They have a very good scheme, and they're dangerous, man. So that's all I'm worrying about right now. As you can tell, that's where my mind is.
Well, and speaking of them, as you looked at their recent games, they win a game by scoring 54 in Charlottesville, and then win a game by scoring $117 on Saturday. What does that tell you about their versatility and ability to win different styles of games?
Yeah, you think you just said it. The way you describe that is perfect. Yes, they're talented, well coached, and they can win a bunch of different ways. Virginia's a unique team in terms of style of play, in terms of pace, and if you look at the number of possessions in all their games, there's a huge dip down in that Virginia game just because of the way that they dictate the tempo of the game so many times, and they figured out a way to grind that one out as well. And obviously, man, they can play in a fast-paced game because that's what they do, and they're terrific at it. And obviously we're an up-tempo team. And I really think it's two very good teams going up against each other in a big-time conference showdown in what I'm sure is going to be a very difficult venue. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
Corey, you're up next, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. What challenges do you see their head coach and coaching staff giving you and your staff? And do you ever take a second to be proud of yourself with the work you've put in?
I try not to try to stay real even keel and focused on the next thing. Obviously, I'm well aware that our team's playing well and we've had some success, but I think there's a time and place for doing that, getting above the trees. And there are little moments when, and not even about the success, just the sense of gratitude that I have for where I am and what I'm able to do. Whether it's I'm up at the Dome at Syracuse and I watched so many games there over the years and the great teams of Jim Boeheim, and just for a second in the middle of the game as the clock's ticking, I look around and go, holy cow, man, I'm coaching University of Louisville at the Dome. And I can't say the name of the dome because I forget what it is. It was always the Carrier Dome. So that answers that question. And then the other question, I believe, was what challenges do they present? What challenges don't they present? They present in every way, shape, or form. They're dynamic, they're fast paced, very good rebounding team. They can score from all different positions on the floor. They're extremely skilled. They're a terrific rebounding team, like you name it. And you know, we have to be on it. It's going to be a very, very big challenge.
Last question will come from Brooks Holton.
Yeah, Pat, this is Chucky's in the, he's had a stretch now of 8 straight games with 7 or more assists. I'm just wondering, kind of asked him this question prior to the game last weekend, just what it feels like for him, to be out there with the guys and, just having, he was kind of talking about just how he feels, everyone feels super comfortable. I'm in the scheme and in their roles. I'm just wondering just how much of a difference kind of like you noticed from him in terms of his confidence out there, from like the very beginning of the season to now.
And darn, I think he's been pretty darn confident from the very beginning. I can't say that I see a big spike right now because he's just been so steady, so consistent, so effective for us throughout the course of the year. Nobody's perfect. I'm not saying he's been perfect every game. Nobody is, but man, he's been a horse for us. And I've said it many times. He's one of the best point guards in the country. There's no doubt.
Pat, thank you for the time. Appreciate it as always.
Okay. Thank you.